captain speaking. You are now aboard the Fantasy Voyage Express. Time to pack your bags and let us take you on a journey to victory.
Come on, y'all, let's take a ride. You ain't gotta say a word, just slide inside. It's time to take your ass on another kind of trip, cause you ain't at the top if you don't got the shit. Grab some chips and a drink to sip and close your eyes and hit that switch. We're going to a place where everybody kick it. Yeah, Blitzalytics. Ain't no friends and there ain't no simping, cause there ain't no team about to catch me tripping. Do you gotta get a stack or a third tier back? We got you covered all season to the ship from the draft. Take you to a place where you get that win, give you more than enough to defeat your friends. And if you can't take the heat, get your ass out the kitchen. We on a mission. Come along and ride on this fantasy. Slide, slippity slide. When it's all up on the line, we can ease your mind. Come along and ride on this fantasy. Slide, who ride? If you want to get the dub, you gotta tune in live.
You are now watching Fantasy Voyage, presented by Blitzalytics.com. And here are your hosts, Cody Manning and Rob.
And welcome into Fantasy Voyage, presented by Blitzalytics.com. As always, I'm your host, Rob. I love it. We came live, Cody, and I don't know what that little click noise was, but whatever it is caught your attention. It looked like you were just staring somebody in the face off screen. It was great. So, good morning to you, sir. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It's that time of the year where the holidays are starting. I know it's kind of weird this year with the pandemic, but I'm just ready to get in this mood, talk some fantasy, and, watch some football all day tomorrow.
Bro, we kind of breached that topic last night. Normally, I'm a Scrooge, and I'm like, no Christmas music till like the day before Christmas. I don't want to hear it, watch it, see it. This year, dude, it's like IV, dude. Pump that in my veins. Give it to me now. You know what I mean? Like 2020 just needs some joy, dude. So my tree's up. My kids have already opened 2 presents. I don't care, dude. It's Christmas all the time.
That's all. Yeah, that's funny you say that because I know we kind of, like you said, we talked about it last night. But I've always enjoyed Christmas. It's my favorite holiday. But like me being down here away from my family, and I kind of talked about it last time, me being a single dude, I really don't ever ever see the reason of, I'm not, no offense to the girls out there, but I'm not like a woman that wants to dress her place up all Christmassy. But like I told myself last year, I'm like, I think I'm going to do it next year just because like it didn't feel like Christmas to me last year. I didn't get a chance to go see my family and whatnot. So like it killed my mood last year. I was like, I can't let that happen. So I'm going all in this year, but I was going to wait till after Thanksgiving. So
full-blown pot committed, right, dude? Plus, I discovered Christmas trap music. If you haven't figured that shit out, go search that on YouTube, dude. Some of that stuff just slaps, man. It's awesome. So we'll get back into football. Me and Cody have been boys for a decade, so it's like we can talk about anything. So sorry about that little tangent there. Let's get into what we do every week. We're going to hit you with the news, the injuries, the studs, the duds, the starts, the sits, the waiver wires, the last trade targets of the season. Last time we'll do that, and then, of course, the only reason anybody's here is for the streaming defenses. So let's jump into the news. First one here, Mark Ingram, J.K. Dobbins tested positive, as if it wasn't already a mess in the backfield deciding who's going to get what on what week, fantasy-wise. Now we've got this news here. We'll kind of just lump all these 3 together, and then you can talk about what you want. Adam Thielen also placed on the COVID list, but we haven't had a confirmed positive from him yet. And then Mike Glennon, what a throwback name, named the starter for the Jaguars. I had to pinch myself and make sure it was still 2020 and we didn't hit a DeLorean back to the day. So, again, Ingram, Dobbins, Thielen, Glennon, which of those do you think you want to talk about today?
I'll just run over them really quick. With the Dobbins and Ingram news, obviously Gus Edwards is a must-add, but if they're playing against the Steelers, so he's more of a flex play to me this week. But to keep in mind how it works is like if they're asymptomatic, if they end up testing negative, like within 10 days, they can come back. So they're kind of towing the line on that because they play again next Thursday. So I mean, I would pick up Gus Edwards because if he's still available on your waivers, which I'm sure he's not, because he probably became a hot commodity the last couple days.
Which is crazy because we haven't had any clarity in this backfield. The first week we do, it's the Steelers that you're going against. You know what I mean? Like, whoa, that's dirty.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not. So I mean, I have him in one league, but I'm really stacked at the running back position, so I'm in no need to play him. Adam Thielen, like you said, I'm not sure if that's a confirmed positive, so like he might be able to play this week. I'm not 100% sure, so just pay attention to that. Obviously, if he can't go, if you're a Justin Jefferson owner, you definitely like your chances this week. And then Mike Glennon, like whatever. Maybe he can consistently get the ball to DJ Chark, at least as an owner, I'm hoping.
Oh man, you're telling me, bro. It's rough pickings out there for DJ. That guy's so talented too, because he's the new Allen Robinson. I'll make do with the crap quarterback I have kind of guy. So let's move into the injuries. We've got one really, really big one, and then a couple that probably only affect really deep leagues. First one we had an entire quarter dedicated to last night on the happy hour because it was just big news. The guy's been killing it. Joe Burrow, though, suffered a torn ACL and MCL in his left knee. He'll undergo reconstructive surgery and rehab for 2021. And Brandon Allen named the starter this week. And speaking of names that only their mothers know.
I know him.
I mean, you know, hey, let's fantasy purposes. Our fantasy guys, they didn't know a lot about Brandon Allen. Let's tell them a little bit about him, because in my mind, when Burrow went down, I was like, fade all Bengals, just like immediately.
And you probably still can do that because, I mean, Brandon Allen, I think he was on their practice squad, but regardless, he doesn't have the chemistry with them. I just said I know his name because Bubba, my brother, he walked on to Arkansas for 1 year, and we were able to go watch the games there, and he was their quarterback. So that's the only reason why I know him, is because I saw him play live quite a bit. He's serviceable as a backup, but obviously, like, T. Higgins' value goes down. Maybe the Tyler Boyd's can remain the same because he's that slot guy that he can depend on as an intermediate route runner. But obviously, like, there's even chances, like they talk about Joe Mixon just got placed on IR, and then I heard, like, I guess Zach Taylor said he's not sure if Mixon would come back this season. If Burrow's done, your offensive line sucks. You might as well get Mixon healthy as well. So I'm kind of completely fading playing any Bengals players now that it's basically playoff time in fantasy football. And now with the injury to Joe Burrow, the Bengals joined the Jaguars and the Jets as teams that you can plan ahead and stream defenses against.
Yeah, to me, the only good thing that comes from this is maybe it dings T's price in dynasty leagues just a little bit, and you can go snatch him up because you're definitely going to want some T. Higgins when Burrow comes back, and I think this might be the best chance you have at getting him. So that's something to keep in mind. But everybody else, I'm just like, oh, thank God I don't own shares. You know what I mean? Like, I own Mixon in A league, but he's been on my bench so long, it's just I forgot I had him. Let's move on. Again, these ones are really for your deeper leagues. You got Rex Burkhead expected to miss the rest of the season with a knee injury, and LaMichael Perrine. Is it Perrine or Perrine? I always say Perrine.
I'm pretty sure it's Perrine.
I give him like this benefit of the French doubt that he doesn't deserve. It's LaMichael Perrine expected to miss a few weeks with a high ankle sprain. Most leagues this isn't going to do much, but speak to the deeper leagues and. Is there a guy coming in to replace that? Because if you're running with one of these two guys, you're running on backups anyway.
Yeah. Burkhead, obviously, he's being more involved with the passing game this year, so maybe that helps James White become fantasy relevant again. But you would hope as a Damian Harris owner, maybe he could start getting some targets because they're strictly only using him as a running down back. And then with LaMichael, I mean, it's the Jets, like you said. I'm not rushed. It's the time where you're taking what you know, and I don't think if basically like you were saying last week, if you have Frank Gore in your starting lineup, you're probably not going to go anywhere in the fantasy playoffs if you even have a chance at that point.
Right, we're super deep into the year, and if it's LaMichael Perrine, that you're like, oh no, sorry guys, you're probably not having the finest of seasons. Let's pivot here, and we'll go into the studs and duds, the guys who either won your week or shat the bed and had you pulling your hair out. We'll do like we do every week. Cody will go quarterback, I'll go quarterback, and we'll switch back and forth through each position. So whenever you're ready, Cody, hit him with them stud quarterbacks. Oh, and the dud
Yes.
too. My bad.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. My stud, man, I just want to talk about him. Deshaun Watson, man, he's having one heck of a year that we're not going to really know about because of how bad the Texans are. But this week he did finish as the number one fantasy quarterback. He was 28 of 37, 344 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also had 6 rushes for 36 yards and a touchdown. Had 31.36 points on the day. He is just completely balling out. And if you got him on as your fantasy quarterback, you got to be loving what the numbers that he's putting up. And we get to see him in that first game tomorrow on Thanksgiving. I think he's going to show out. He might be the one that's eating the turkey leg tomorrow, Fox. And then my dud quarterback is Matt Ryan, man. I know the Saints defense is playing a lot better over this last month, but he kind of completely did not produce at all. Number 26 quarterback on the week, 19 of 37, 232 yards, 2 touchdowns, finished with 7.28 points. And for a guy, they used to be Mr. Reliable in fantasy, he's finding himself on the bottom 10 of the quarterbacks more times than not this year.
Yeah, it's I talked about it a little bit last night. I think it's time for them to start looking for his replacement. Moving into next season, he's going to be really off my board for target quarterbacks, even late round guys. It's been super disappointing this year, especially with the weaponry he has. My stud quarterback, anytime I get to talk about a Ram, I'm about to do it. Jared Goff, number 3 QB on the week, 39 of 51, now tied for second most completions in a Monday night game with 39, the record being 40. I wish they'd just let him toss one more, get it. 376 yards, 3 touchdowns, did have 2 picks, but finished with 25 points for you. A much better game than I was expecting out of Jared Goff. Much more passing attempts than I was expecting out of Jared Goff. We referenced last week the wide receivers there. I wasn't sure who was going to get what, and it felt like a rushing game. Way wrong, and they just went the opposite direction. Jared Goff feasted. My dud QB was Matt Stafford, number 24 QB on the week, 18 of 33, 178 yards, no touchdowns, 7.62 points. So right there with your Matt Ryan in the 7s. I just don't. Man, that was an ugly game. That was just hard to watch in red zone. Like, I couldn't imagine trying to watch the entire game. So really rough game this week for Matthew Stafford. So let's move then into the running backs, and you've got the stud here may end up being the fantasy MVP.
Yeah, so the stud running back, this is more a pat on your back. He was a trade target for you last week. I kind of threw some I don't know, with Taylor Lewan being hurt, we might not get that magic late in the year. And as of right now, it looks like he's got the magic, which I hope I don't see against my Colts on Sunday. But Derrick Henry, number 3 running back on the week, he had 28 rushes, 133 yards and a touchdown, 1 reception, -2 yards. So at least he got you a point on those -2. Well, I guess 0.08 points on that with that 1 reception on 2 targets. Finished with 20.2 points. Dude is just a beast at this point of the year, and you are completely right. He's probably going to keep on balling out no matter who he's going against every single week.
We'll talk about him later. Wait till I break down his schedule later in the show.
Okay. All right. Well, a little teaser there. Then my dud of the week, man, I went back to him in one of my leagues. He completely let me down. Duke Johnson, number 39 running back on the week. He had 10 rushes for 15 yards, 3 receptions for 20 yards on 5 targets, 6.5 points. I mean, he's getting plenty of touches when he's getting, 10 rushes and 5 targets. He's just stopped producing, but me and you kind of talked about it beforehand. Maybe we could talk about it on the show with it being Thanksgiving tomorrow. I think I'm going back to him one last time against the Lions because the Lions have the worst rushing defense in fantasy football. And I just see him being that random Thanksgiving Day star as well. What do you think? I should do?
I'm 100 with you, right? You wrote it now, and this is the ride it till the wheels fall off, right? And if you don't produce against the worst defense in fantasy football, the wheels have not only fallen off, they've blown off the car. I can't talk about Duke Johnson anymore as a football player being fantasy relevant moving forward. So at least you'll know something. And like you said, man, if Duke Johnson's that guy on your team and you have to be thinking about plugging him, that means you're rolling through backups at this point, and this is the juiciest matchup. And that's what you have to do with waiver ads. And I'm, again, with you. I don't own any shares of Duke, but if I did, this is the matchup to play him in. Otherwise, why haven't you dropped him already? So
right.
I'll use that as the pivot point into my running backs, and I'll go with Dalvin Cook as my stud, the number one running back in fantasy, number one running back in my heart. I think he's the best running back in football. When this guy is healthy, I think it's hands down he's the best. 27 rushes, 115 yards, 1 touchdown, 5 receptions for 45 yards, netted you 25 points. Like I said, anytime this guy's healthy, he's a plug and play. He feels matchup proof to me. He's just electric. So this one hurts because one of my favorite players of all time is Todd Gurley. Finished number 45 on the week, 8 rushes, only 26 yards, no touchdowns. He really has become completely touchdown dependent. Now, luckily for us Gurley owners, the Falcons usually get in the red zone and Todd will sniff one. Didn't happen this week with an all-around down performance from Atlanta. So, again, moving forward, completely no Todd Gurley is touchdown dependent, guys. I'll cave to that point. So, again, stud, Dalvin, dud, running back. And whenever you're ready, Cody, let's talk about some receivers.
Yeah, so I just want to talk about this guy because he's having a great year now that Justin Herbert's taken over the quarterback position. It's Keenan Allen. Number one wide receiver on the week. He had 16 receptions, 145 yards, a touchdown on 19 targets. He did have a fumble on the day, but he still finished with 34.5 points. Completely balled out. The young kid is looking his way anytime he can throw in the ball, and he's putting up some great numbers. I remember me and you having that conversation back in like August. Like, yeah, if I can get Keenan Allen in the 4th or 5th round, it's going to end up being a steal, and it's being a steal.
Right, we told you, like, mortgage everything to get Keenan Allen where his ADP was. It never rose. We told you, I think it was like a weekly thing where we're like, Keenan Allen's far too low, and now you're eating on Keenan Allen.
Yeah, definitely. And then my dud wide receiver, man, I actually picked him up, and I got him on two different leagues, which is weird because it's always so hard for me to grab a Patriot. But Jacoby Myers finished as a number 55 wide receiver. We're back to being the simple Patriots in fantasy where you don't know who to play on any given week. He had 3 receptions, 38 yards on 3 targets, 6.8 points. Just a letdown performance in a game that they were kind of trying to play catch up most of it behind the Texans. So you thought he would have a better stat line than that.
Yeah. Again, it's just like the running back situation has been in New England for years. It's who's going to get what. Jacoby had a couple nice weeks and then followed it up with this for you. So we'll stay with my wide receivers. And again, anytime I can talk about a Ram, let's do it. I could have went Cooper Kupp here, but I got to go with my boy Bobby Trees. What Roy said last night is true. This guy has been one of the best free agent signings over the last decade. Completely underrated receiver. He's killing it for you this season. This week, number 3 wide receiver, 12 receptions on count them, 15 targets, 130 yards and a touchdown. Got you 30.6 points. In our defense, we did tell you if you were going to go one Rams wide receiver to go Bobby Trees, but Cooper was good too. So thanks, Rams, for that. And my dud, we talked about him just a little bit earlier, is DJ Chark. And it's the guy's got all the talent in the world, but he finished 52 wide receiver, 4 receptions on 8 targets, 41 yards. Now, I haven't gone back and watched the full game. I only saw the red zone coverage of this. I'd imagine those 4 targets he missed were probably crap because Lutton was off. 41 yards, 8.1 points. We'll see what happens moving forward with another change at quarterback here in Jacksonville. But, man, it's up and down with DJ Chark because it's just booty hole quarterback play for him. So whenever you're ready, we'll move to your tight ends.
Yeah, so my stud tight end this week is Dallas Goedert. He's a tight end I've always liked, and now he's 3 weeks back into being healthy. Last 2 games, he's gotten 6 targets. This week, he finished as number 4 tight end, 5 receptions for 77 yards and a touchdown. Finished with 18.7 points. And as long as Zach Ertz stays on the sideline with his injury, I know he might be coming back here in the next couple of weeks. He's going to be able to be a tight end 1 for you, I think, every week with his targets and how much we'll see how long Carson Wentz's leash is. But even if they were to make the switch to Jalen Hurts, I still think Goedert will still see those targets as well. So I like him going forward as a tight end. My dud, man. Hayden Hearst, 0 receptions on 2 targets. Julio left that game with the injury, I want to say, in the second quarter. So you think he would get more targets. he just hasn't lived up what everybody thought he would be in Atlanta. Getting all those targets that Austin Hooper's got. He's just been inconsistent, and at this point, you can't really even trust him. But what tight end can you trust? If we're being honest.
Yeah, if we are being honest, you can't trust any tight ends not named. At this point, with Kittle's injury, it's Kelsey for me. Like, that's it. Yeah, Goddard, however you want to say his name. I get it. He's got opportunity, but there's no guarantee there. The guarantee is Travis Kelsey at this point. It's such a bad situation that my stud tight end, I'm going to talk about this, right? I took this because I had to. My stud tight end is fucking Taysom Hill. Quarterback 4, tight end 2. So if you're in ESPN leagues, the stud tight end was Taysom Hill. Because of a glitch in the system, finished with 24.92 points. That's ridiculous that you got to do that. But if you were like Cody and you did do the smart thing and play that, congratulations to you. But for everyone else, I did throw in here a real tight end. Darren Waller, tight end 2 on the week, depending on which format you're playing. 7 receptions on 7 targets, 88 yards, 1 touchdown, 21.8 points. So he did have a good week in actual tight end. But ESPN, what the hell are you doing, man? That was a joke. My dud tight end is Jared Cook, number 46 tight end on the week. 1 reception on 1 target, 6 total yards, 1.6 points. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to transition this into a portion. I didn't really have anywhere to stick this. So this is kind of where I wanted to do. One, Adam Troutman outsnapped him, which probably made Roy happy. But Jared Cook's no longer getting the tight end snap count. And with Taysom Hill, Cody, I want to ask you, how scared are you about everyone else? Because Camaro was down, no tight end did jack, the wide receiving core didn't do much. It was the Taysom Hill show. So if it's Taysom moving forward, what do we do with the plethora of Saints that we've got playing in fantasy football?
I think you should. I think Alvin Camaro, he'll eventually be involved, and maybe it does hurt his value because of the rushing ability of Taysom Hill. Because basically, Alvin Camaro is an extension of Drew Brees' arm this year. But I think we saw Michael Thomas had like 10 plus targets, so I don't think that affects him. I think I would only trust Michael Thomas because of the targets. I trust Alvin Kamara because of the talent, but I would not play anybody else on that team. And I would consider even playing Taysom Hill. I'm actually considering playing him over Big Ben this week. Because
it's fantasy, right? You don't need to be a good quarterback to be fantasy relevant. Tim Tebow, like there were days where
that's
like
what
80
you took the
rushing
name
yards.
out of my mouth. You took the name out of my mouth. I'm like, dude, he's got these people might forget, but like Tim Tebow like won people championships like with how he played that one year when he took the Broncos to the playoffs. So I'm like, dude, Taysom. I'm not saying Taysom Hill has an arm, but he has a better arm than Tim Tebow. So I'm just like, dude, Taysom Hill might be this year's Tim Tebow, where if you play him as your fantasy quarterback, you might be able to get to the playoffs with him.
I think we actually saw the floor for rushing yards from Taysom. I think 50 yards is the floor for Taysom Hill rushing wise. Now, the points came from the 2 rushing touchdowns, so those may or may not be there. But 50 yards feels like baseline to me. 200 passing yards, that's right around baseline for me too. So I think your performance here, you're looking at Taysom Hill averaging somewhere between 18 and 30 points from his position if he gets a rushing touchdown. Like there's no way. He's a great ad because, again, this late in the fantasy season, where are you picking up that kind of floor production? So it's crazy to talk about. But yeah, again, if you guys haven't seen the story, look up the I had a buddy of mine on Twitter tell me a story about his mom who plays fantasy football. She's like 70 years old and called ESPN to complain because she lost on the Taysom Hill glitch. Greatest story I've heard all year. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, right? Like, even if you're the guy getting chewed out, she made your day, right? You're like, dude, this old chick. Yeah, it's great stuff. So we're going to move into your waiver claims, Cody, and we got a name here that's been there a couple times.
Yeah, and I put in the comments that we'll answer some questions, and we got a question from Eric saying Logan Thomas or Jordan Reed. Off the top of my head, I'm saying Jordan Reed just because he's in Kyle Shanahan's system, and Logan Thomas has been very inconsistent. I just pulled it up. If we need some context, the Rams are giving up 7.5 points per game to the tight end position, and then Dallas is giving up 8.3. So it's not that even big of a difference. I think I would lean towards Jordan Reed because I think he's a better talent. But what do you think, Rob?
Oh, I mean, it's an ugly choice. I'd probably go. It's a quarter flip for me, so I'll take the talent of Reed. But again, it's literally a quarter flip. So sorry you're in that boat. Sorry, Taysom Hill's not going to be listed as a tight end.
And then also too, if you want the factor of like if you want some tight end to root for during Thanksgiving when you're watching the games, you can go with Logan Thomas.
That's true. That's true because that could be a terrible game. So at least it gives you a reason to watch that terrible game between two terrible teams, right? So, I mean, there's a slight perk there. You can't be mad at that. Again, whenever you're ready, then we'll hit the waiver wire claims. Keep those questions coming, and we'll answer them in between
any questions.
segments.
And Jay, yes, I know. I'm pretty shocked by myself. I am considering it. But so let me go ahead and get in my waiver claims. Yeah, he was my quarterback ad last week, and I'll go ahead and say this, Rob. I don't know if you looked over the waivers, but it's rough out there on the waiver street.
Ugly. We're talking about how important it is that you might have Taysom Hill right now. That's how ugly it is.
Yeah, and he was on my last week, so I'm just going to go ahead and throw him up there because he ended up performing in his first good matchup of his stretch of good games. But it's Kirk Cousins. He's available in 58% of the leagues. This past week, he had 314 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then the next 2 games, he has the Panthers and the Jaguars. So he has 2 good streaming matchups, especially if you're like a DFS player, you want somebody cheap, or if you are like in a 2 quarterback system. I think he's a perfect spot, perfect quarterback for that second spot on your roster over the next 2 weeks. But then he's got the Bucks, but I don't know. The Bucks kind of look like you could throw against them on Monday night. And then my running back out of the week, and the running backs, it's really hard out there. And now, I think after this week, the Bucks and the Panthers are the last 2 teams that have buys. So we're also at the point where you need to start thinking about getting your handcuffs for your premium running backs that start for you, just in case something happens over the next couple of weeks with injuries. But Tony Pollard is available at 81% of the leagues. He only had 5 rushes, but on those 5 rushes, he had 60 yards and a touchdown in the past matchup against the Vikings defense. So if anything were to happen to Zeke, he becomes a basically RB2 with RB1 upside. So if you are a Zeke owner, you have somebody that you can get rid of on your bench, and Tony Pollard's on the waivers. Go get him right now. My wide receiver ad of the week is Nelson Aguilar. He's available in 81% of the leagues. He had 6 receptions for 88 yards, 1 touchdown on 9 targets. And, outside Darren Waller, he's basically the one guy you can probably depend on that passing attack to get you numbers every week. Henry Ruggs has been hit and miss. Bryan Edwards hasn't really came along since his return from an injury. And Derek Carr is looking his way. I mean, he got 9 targets the past game. So I kind of view Nelson Aguilar as a potential wide receiver 3 that can put you up wide receiver 2 numbers on any given week. Tight end, I don't know what to say. I'm just dude, tight end's so ugly. I hate it this year. I'm right there with you, Rob. I used to give it the benefit of the doubt, but it's so ugly. I'm going with Dalton Schultz this week. 79% of the league. He's available in 79% of the leagues. He had 4 receptions for 25 yards and a touchdown. He had 6 targets. So if anybody's getting at least 6+ targets at the tight end position, I'm willing to roll the dice on them as far as finding that end zone target, as me and Rob always talk about. With tight ends. And then my flex ad of the week is Tim Patrick, the wide receiver for the Broncos, available in 79% of the leagues. He had 5 receptions for 119 yards on 8 targets. He's been seeing plenty of targets whenever he's healthy and he's in the lineup. So he's a guy that can potentially slide in your wide receiver 3 slot. If the matchup is right. So my quarterback ad of the week, Kirk Cousins, running back, Tony Pollard, wide receiver, Nelson Aguilar, tight end, Dalton Schultz, and my flex ad is Tim Patrick.
Yeah, again, it's getting uggo out there, and especially in that quarterback and tight end position. Like, you better find a way to solidify something because it's garbage out there right now, my friends. It doesn't look like we had any questions come in, but hi, Agent Alvaro. I see you in the chat, bud. We'll move into my trade targets, and I'll make these really quick because, again, a lot of leagues are already past trade deadline. So these are going to be some bigger names. These are things you're going to want to target, right? Alvin Camaro is the number one for me. I think maybe people sweat after that Hill game a little bit. I think Hill does kill his value a little bit, but snipe him and pray that they move on to Jameis or that Breeze really is only gone for a couple weeks, and then you just pour on and run to a fantasy championship with Alvin Kamara. Odds of getting him slim to none. Going to take something big, but again, it's that time to swing for the fences. Number 2 for me is Juju. He was leading Pittsburgh in reception yards, targets, receptions, and second in touchdowns. Now, Claypool and Deontay overtook him in most of those stats, but he's been better than people think. So if you're definitely not getting Claypool or Deontay, right? You can't trade for them. They're untouchable on most teams. But for him to have been leading and just been overtaken, that means you're getting equal production at a discounted rate with Juju. I think Juju's a name I'll go snag. We talked about him earlier. He was on this list last week. It's Derrick Henry. Again, the guy's just an absolute monster. They pound you with him for the first half. Then the second half, he starts really progressing. You're talking about, check this out, Cody. Matchups against the Jaguars, Lions, and Packers in 14, 15, 16. I do not think you can get a sweeter 3-game matchup than that. That might be the best matchups you could possibly ask for. And again, we talked last week about how he's a late season, half season monster. Derrick Henry's going to win people championships with that stretch. Jaguars, Lions, Packers, get out of here. That's Olay defenses to the running back position. Number 4 for me, Lamar Jackson. From weeks 13 through 16, he's going to play the Cowboys, Browns, Jaguars, and Giants. It's hard to say what you could give up to get him, but let's be honest. Last year, he averaged more points than he's gotten in any one game this year, except for maybe one. I believe he had one good week. So the owner's it's been a letdown season from him. Maybe you can pilfer him off if you are super strong at a running back or a tight end position. Maybe think about pivoting and using that to move to Lamar Jackson. And then number 5, I do not care how you have to get him. If it's trade, if it's waiver, if it's ad, I do not care. You go get you some Austin Eckler. I alluded to this last night. I think he is going to be absolutely insane with Justin Herbert. I'm going all in on any chance I can to grab me any kind of shares of Austin Eckler. I wrote in the notes here, BAMN, by any means necessary. I do not care. Make it happen. He is going to be a fantasy stud with Travis Herbert back there. So, again, Cody, Alvin, Kamara, Juju, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, Austin Eckler. I mean, big names, but you got to swing for the fence, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's that time of the year. You got to make that push to finalize your starting rosters to get to the playoffs and potentially win that championship.
Absolutely. I had somebody offer me, was it TJ Hawkinson for Antonio Gibson? I'm like, the hell are you thinking? What the hell are you thinking?
Yeah, I had some negotiations where I try to be sneaky because Mostert's coming back, and this is a league I'm pretty stacked at running back. I got Nick Chubb, Antonio Gibson, Miles Sanders. I got Gus Edwards, Naheem Hines. So my cousin tried to get him, but I like my roster because I also have A.J. Brown. We'll see about DJ Chark. I like him as my wide receiver too, but my tight end's Evan Ingram, and my cousin has Travis Kelce. So I was like, all right, Mostert, and I offered some other Mostert and Ingram for Kelce, and he's like, no way. I'm like, hey, I'm just trying to finalize my roster over here.
Right, it's the only thing I need is that set it and forget it tight in, right? So
exactly.
Yeah, normally.
But we got some questions here, man.
Oh, here we go. Let's do this. Let's see what we've got in the chat here. Oh, wow, we got some talking going on.
Yeah, we got Hines or Jonathan Taylor, or start them both. Ooh, that's a tough one because, I always say that the Colts running back room is always going to be hit and miss.
I say come back to this, Eric. Who are your other running back options? Because if you're slim, I think you go both.
Yeah, I could see that. And then, I mean, I'll just say this. Taylor's a floor play because he'll probably get more touches. Hines does offer you the ceiling. And like you talked about earlier when we were talking before the show, Hines did go off against the Titans as well, too. But I could maybe see playing both. And then what? We got – all right. So looks like we got a couple of different questions from Trey. He says, morning, fellas. Big list coming in hot. Full PPR. Choose two guys. Oh, really quick. Eric, you saw what Eric said.
Yeah, start them both. Start them both. Start Taylor, start Hines. Start them both. I'm good. I'm not going Fournette. Did you see Fournette pull the Trent Richardson? Get out of here.
Yeah.
And then I'm not a Voyage guy, so yeah, give me both of the Colts running backs this week here instead of those guys.
Yeah. So. Well, me and Rob are dealing with construction. I just heard a loud noise. I thought my roof was coming down. All right, choose two. Deontay Johnson, Brandon Cooks, Bobby Trees, Swift, Gurley, or Geo.
I know mine right now.
I think I do. Well, who do the Rams? Rams got the 4. Okay, I probably would. You probably do go Deontay Johnson, Bobby Trees, but if DeAndre Swift plays, the Texans have the second worst defense against the running back position.
Yeah, but that's a Thursday night. Like, you've got to know, you know what I mean? Like, that scares the crap out of me. Like, I need to know, Thursday morning.
Yesterday. Yeah, you'll know.
I think I'm going, like you said, give me Deontay Johnson, give me Bobby Trees, right? Don't stop what's working. Cooks is great when he's good, but horrible when he's bad. Swift, I don't know what we can expect from him. Again, it is a juicy matchup, but Bobby Trees and DJ seem to be matchup proof. Gurley's touchdown dependent, and no Bengals for me. None. I know Gio seems like he's all that's left, but no Bengals for me. I'd rather him go off on my bench than get me 6 in my starting lineup this week.
Yeah, I guess I would if I would not choose one of those wide receivers, I'd go Bobby Trees and DeAndre Swift if Swift plays, just because Deontay Johnson can be hit and miss. All it takes is one hit and he's out. That's true. That's also a Thursday game.
Regardless, Bobby Trees is one of them, though, man. Did you see? I mean, the guy, like his jersey, he caught so many balls and got hit so much this week. His jersey was a whole other color than the other Rams. Like, that guy is just an Iron Man. So Bobby Trees for me, and then take your pick between Deontay Johnson and Swift, right? I think they're going to be equal levels. So what do we got here? We got, Bougie in the chat, sit CEH to play Gus. Ooh.
I think I would, like I said earlier, I think I would, if you can, I would avoid Gus this week just because that Steelers defense is so good, and I don't know if they're going to be able to run the ball too much on Thursday night. You could definitely, I mean, Ravens still got that pass defense, which is why I'm considering playing Taysom over Big Ben, and why I've also said my thing about Deontay Johnson. But I mean, I could just see the Steelers opening up to a big lead where they make the Ravens pass happy, and then Gus isn't involved, and you're kind of seeing what's that one kid's name from Oklahoma State it's like their fourth back, him getting involved in the game as well. I think I would hold on. I think you play CEH over Gus Edwards. That's just my opinion.
I do too. I go CEH in that position as well.
It just hit me. Justice Hill. That's that kid's name.
Justice Hill. No justice for Hill this week still for me. Again, like you said, it's going to be hard because they're both pretty good defenses, but sorry to say this to Jack, if you're going to crack one of them, it feels like it's going to be Tampa Bay. Pittsburgh just feels like they're on a whole other level right now. So let's move then back into the script here, and we will get into start and sits. Again, keep those questions coming, guys. We got this segment, we've got the streamable defenses, and then the end. So we've got 3 chances to answer questions for you. We'll move into the starts and sits, do them just like we did studs and duds, where we'll bounce back and forth with positions, and whenever you're ready, Cody, the quarterbacks.
So my start of the week, this is probably just a streaming quarterback, maybe a 2 quarterback play or DFS, but Baker Mayfield against the Jaguars. Jaguars have the third worst defense against the quarterback position. They're allowing 24.5 points per game. I know Baker hasn't really put up the numbers the last couple of weeks, but those games have been in Cleveland where the wind has been absolutely nasty up there. And this time they're going to be in Florida. So I think this sets up for a good Baker Mayfield game through the air. Then my sit of the week, this is Drew Lock against the Saints. He's been like, I guess you could say, an all right streaming quarterback just because he puts his team in a terrible position where he has to throw the ball a lot. I know he kind of somewhat impressed against the Dolphins defense this past week, but don't buy into it. I would sit him against the Saints defense, who's been impressive over the last 4 weeks, and they are the 8th best defense against the quarterback position. They're only allowing 17.1 points per game.
Yeah, and again, Drew Lock's been up and down anyway, so it makes me nervous. Again, I think the Saints ride that defense, and the rest of their season depends on how good they play, so I'm afraid of that D. Excuse me, man. I drank some tea.
I was gonna say you came in like you couldn't, like you were drowning over there.
I was, man. I took a drink of tea. Must have went down the wrong tube, man. I'm coming for you, Gold Peak Tea. You tried to kill me. My starting quarterback of the week this week was really hard for me to put down because he really has been garbaggio. But as garbage as Carson Wentz has been this season, Seattle's defense is even more hot garbage, right? So I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, this feels like one of those random weeks where the Eagles look pretty good. I don't know why. I'm just gut feeling saying Carson Wentz tosses the rock. We're talking like 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. Just that Seattle secondary is garbage. The defense, yes, Carlos Dunlap had a good week. But again, you only got to block one guy. Like, just block that one guy, Philly, and let's make a game of this. So give me Carson Wentz this week. And again, this one, to me, if Carson lays a dud in this matchup, bro, we may be seeing some Jalen Hurts. It's time to move on from fantasy expectations from Carson at all. My sit of the week, you touched on it in that Pittsburgh matchup. I don't know what to make of Lamar Jackson. I'm with you. I think the game script says Mike Tomlin, Big Ben, Juju, Deontay, they're going to come out and they're going to go for the fences and try and go up good 14 points early and make Lamar throw the ball. If it does get to that game script, it hasn't been nice for Lamar Jackson. So if you have any other options, please consider sitting him against Pittsburgh, who has been the best against the quarterback position, giving up only 13.4 points per game. Again, you may not have a better option. It is ugly out there for even streamers right now. So if you can't, just temper expectations and maybe swing for the fences on a guy like Cody said earlier. A Naheem Hines may have a higher ceiling than some of your other flex options. So consider that with Lamar Jackson this week. And whenever you're ready, Cody, hit him with the running backs.
Well, running back that I think will have a bounce back week is Todd Gurley against the Raiders. Las Vegas is the 4th worst defense against the running back position. They're allowing 22.6 points per game. There is a chance that Julio Jones won't play this week because of his I think it's a hamstring injury. So if he's out, I expect that they're going to probably try to lean more on that running attack, and I think that sets up well for a good Todd Gurley performance on Sunday.
He'll get a touchdown at least.
Yeah, I could definitely see him get one. And then my sit of the week, 2 running backs from Denver, Melvin Gordon and Phillip Lindsay. I know they both just look good against the Dolphins, but they have the worst matchup you could play them against this week against the Saints. New Orleans is the best defense against the running back position. They're only allowing 12.5 points per game. And on top of that, as I say every week if I talk about the Saints defense, they are now at like 54 or 55 games in a row where they haven't allowed a single player to rush over 100 yards. So if you're playing a running back against the Saints, you're praying that running back at least finds the end zone on a goal line carry.
You know what? I know this is a fantasy show, but in our pick'ems, I got cute and picked Denver to beat New Orleans. Remind me to switch that. After this, I'm just...
You got time.
Oh, man. That's it. Yeah, I'm switching that pick. For me, my starting running back, again, it's hard to put here. But I'm going to go David Montgomery versus Green Bay. Coming back from concussion. Green Bay is the 3rd worst versus the running back position at 25.1 points per game. Literally olaying running backs. They just let the running back do what they want. and try and shut down everything else. I think you can count on David Montgomery. I don't think he's top 5. I think you get a top 10 play out of him, though, this week. My sit running backs, look, I'm going to say I do this every now and then. How about the entire Rams 49ers game? Just sit all your running backs. None of them need to play. The Rams are third best versus the running back position, 14.6 points per game. 49ers are the seventh best versus the running back position at 15.8 points per game. Again, this feels like that's why we said earlier to roll out Bobby Trees. I'm not sure who's running the ball here in this game. So both teams, 49ers and running backs, sit them. 49ers and Rams running backs, sit them both. So we'll go to you for your wide receivers, Cody.
Yeah, so I got a pair of wide receivers in both starts and sits here this week. My start wide receivers are Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore against the Vikings. Minnesota is the third worst defense against the wide receiver position. They're allowing 29.1 points per game. This Panthers game and Vikings game could end up potentially being a shootout type of matchup. So I could see both of Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore having a good day. And you can also, if Teddy does have to miss a game, I think PJ Walker has given us confidence that he can get the job done and give those guys opportunities to put up the numbers. And then my sit of the week is Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. I'm not sure if Deebo Samuel is set to return, but even if he is set to return, I always say you got to be very suspect against playing guys that return from injuries, especially when they have a tough matchup like this. The Rams are the best defense against the wide receiver position this year. They're only allowing 17.2 points per game. So if Deebo's out, I definitely don't want to play Ayuk because that means he's going to get Jalen Ramsey plenty of times throughout the night. So, but even if Deebo plays, I think I would avoid him for at least this week, and I would definitely want to play Ayuk at that point.
Yeah, again, that Rams defense is for real, guys. I'll move to my wide receivers where I'm going to tell you to roll up Devonta Parker against the lowly New York Jets. New York fifth worst versus the wide receiver position at 26.7 points per game. Again, this is just kind of a gut feeling play for me. I think Devontae has a good game. Again, New York's garbage. They're just not even fun to watch. That's how bad they are. My sit, Corey Davis, had a decent week. Coming in, though, it's the Indy defense. I'm telling you, don't start anybody against him. Seventh best versus the wide receiver, 20.7 points per game. Again, my gut feeling says of those 20.7 points per game average, A.J. Brown's going to be the guy that gets them. He'll get most of them. Corey Davis, I think, has a little to no appearance this week. And then I guess we got to talk about tight ends one more time this week, Cody. So whenever you're ready.
Tight ends are so bad.
So garbage, bro.
And every week when you do your little research into like the points per game that teams are allowing, like the tight ends like it's smaller and smaller, and like it gets closer to going below double digits. Like it's bad. So I guess if you're gonna roll the dice on a tight end, and he might be out there on the waivers. Austin Hooper against the Jaguars. Jacksonville is the second worst defense right now against the tight ends. They are allowing 10.4 points per game. Like I said, this game is in Jacksonville. I said Baker is a start for me this week. So I think he can have a good, solid week. And if I'm wrong, you can't even sue me because everybody's wrong on tight ends this year.
They're just trash.
And then my sit tight end, I would not look at streaming any of the Rams tight ends. Tyler Higbee or Gerald Everett against the Niners. San Francisco is currently tied for the first best defense against the tight end position, I believe, with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're only allowing 4.5 points per game to the position. So that's a group I would avoid streaming this week.
Less than 6, Cody. The point differential between the best and second worst to this tight end position is less than 6 points. You are just touchdown hunting. I will repeat it. This is touchdown hunting. So why not go with a guy named Hunter? And my start of the week is Hunter Henry. We're hunting touchdowns versus Buffalo. They are 6th worst versus the tight end at a whopping 9.6 points per game. I think Hunter Henry gets you a solid 11 to 13 points, right? I'm not saying he's going to give me Taysom Hill numbers because Taysom Hill's the greatest tight end in history. But Hunter Henry's going to get me double digits. My sit, Jonnu Smith, because he's playing the Colts and really hasn't done much for my personal fantasy team in weeks now. I remember when he was a guy I could count on. No more. Jonnu Smith is a sit for me against that Indy defense that's third best to the position at only 5.1 points per game. Now, we didn't have any questions come in, but Jay, the Eagles fan, it's a rough year for Jay, and Jay has no faith in Carson. He says he's going to be bad. That's it. That's the comment. That's the tweet. Carson Wentz will be bad. Sorry, Jay, man. I know it's been rough, but I'm a Rams fan, so every 10 years we're the worst team in the league. So. I guess we'll just move on then to the only reason that people came today, Cody, is the streamable defenses of the week. So whenever you're ready.
Yeah, so my top 5 streamable defenses this week, as always, number 1 is going to be the low-hanging fruit in the Jets. So I got the Dolphins against the Jets. Dolphins defense has played a lot better over this past month or so. As we all know, Jets are awful. I believe Joe Flacco will once again be starting. So you got a statue behind that offensive line. I like the sack potential for the Dolphins. And most importantly, with Xavier Howard and Brian Jones playing the cornerback position, there's always an opportunity to get those interceptions. And then I talked about it earlier with the unfortunate Joe Burrow injury. The Giants against the Bengals. The Giants defense already has been a solid defense throughout the year, and I've already streamed them a couple times myself. And they got a great matchup against the Bengals now with Joe Burrow being out. Their offensive line is terrible. That's going to allow them to bottle up the whatever running attack that Cincinnati will have this week, and that will force Brandon Allen to throw the ball. And if Brandon Allen does have to throw the ball a lot, that's going to lead to interceptions. So I think the Giants defense is a great option for people this week. And then my number 3 is the Browns against the Jaguars. As we heard, Mike Glennon starting. There's a reason why he has been a backup quarterback for most of his career. So I like the opportunity for the Browns to get some turnovers in this matchup, potentially get some sacks. Myles Garrett will be out. Denzel Ward will be out, so that there's some cautionary tale here with streaming them. But even with their 2-star defenders out of the lineup, I still like their chances of being able to get those sacks and turnovers on Sunday. My number 4, Rob might be happy with this, is the Rams against the 49ers. I always say this every time when I talk about the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan, he's probably going to game script an opening drive touchdown. He'll find ways to score points, but Nick Mullins, if he doesn't get that first read, he can turn over the ball. Their offensive line has been hit and miss this year, so I can see Aaron Donald having a good day, getting those sacks. And I think the Rams defense is just playing with a lot of confidence right now, especially after that big Monday night win. So I think you could roll the dice if you're looking for a deep play on a streamable defense this week. My number 5 is the Saints against the Broncos. As we've talked about multiple times, the Saints defense has been playing a lot better over this last month. They're playing with a lot of confidence as well. Drew Lock is very prone to turning over the ball. That offensive line is not that great, so I can see Cameron Jordan, Trey Hendrickson, and the rest of that defensive line getting after Drew Lock all day. So I like the opportunity for sacks and turnovers in this matchup. So we got the Dolphins against the Jets, Giants against the Bengals, Browns against the Jaguars, Rams against the Niners, and Saints against the Broncos. And, with it being Thanksgiving, to fill people up, maybe I'll give a little bonus defense too that I think would be a good play is the Washington football team against the Cowboys. The football team's got a very solid defensive front, and the Cowboys offensive line, it played a lot better last week, but there's a potential for sacks. But I didn't put them in my top 5 just because we kind of saw the Cowboys offense get on track last week. So they're like number 6 for me. But just in case if anybody wanted to stream a defense, like we always say, give you something to look at when you're watching the game on Thanksgiving. So that might be a play.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything you can do to make that game more entertaining, guys. So looks like that'll do it. We didn't get any questions there in the chat. We kicked ass so much we already answered them all. So we're going to turn it over to you, let you say your goodbyes, plug what you need to plug, and then we'll let you get to work, Cody.
Yeah, so as always, the Blitzalytics Prospect Encyclopedia. Guys, if you haven't got your hands on it, why haven't you? This thing's so awesome. It's the top 22 players for all 32 teams from the last 3 draft classes. It's only $35 for the hard copy. You go to blitzlytics.com/shop to order it. It would be make a great little Christmas gift with that coming around the corner. So you can read about the up-and-coming stars in the NFL. Other than that, if you like today's episode, always hit that like button. Make sure you do subscribe to our YouTube channel so you know when any of our shows go live. I will be back on Friday with Cody Talks NFL. Should be around this time, but if me or Rob maybe have a little too much to eat or drink on Thursday, if for any reason we got to push it back to middle of Friday, or even if we have to do it on Saturday. We will keep you guys posted. I'll make an announcement on my social media platforms if for any reason. But as of right now, me and Rob plan on being back here at the same time on Friday for Cody Talks NFL. Other than that, thank you. I'm just thankful for everybody tuning in this week. I hope you enjoy your Thanksgiving, however you are celebrating it this year.
Yep, absolutely. Again, love it because Cody does my job for me. So I'll say what I've been saying the last couple of weeks. Just remember your friends, remember your family, reach out, call your loved ones, let them know they're loved. It's a tough time of year for a lot of people, especially here in this crazy year 2020. So happy Thanksgiving from me, from Cody, the rest of the family on Football Happy Hour, Jack and Roy and all the guys over at Blitz. I want to thank you guys so much for making this another good year thus far. Wish you a happy Thanksgiving. And like Cody said, we'll see you Friday for Cody Talks NFL. It's been a good one. This has been Fantasy Voyage presented by Blitzlytics.com, and we look forward to talking to you next week.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your captain speaking. You are now aboard the Fantasy Voyage Express. Time to pack your bags and let us take you on a journey to victory.
Come on, y'all, let's take a ride. You ain't gotta say a word, just slide inside. It's time to take your ass on another kind of trip, cause you ain't at the top if you don't got the shit. Grab some chips and a drink to sip and close your eyes and hit that switch. We're going to a place where everybody kick it. Yeah, Blitzlytics. Ain't no friends and there ain't no simping, cause there ain't no team about to catch me tripping. Do you gotta get a stack or a third tier back? We got you covered all season to the ship from the draft. Take you to a place where you get that win, give you more than enough to defeat your friends. If you can't take the heat, get your ass out the kitchen. We on a mission. Come along and ride on this fantasy. Slide, slippity slide. When it's all up on the line, we can ease your mind. Come along and ride on this fantasy. Slide, who ride? If you want to get the dub, you gotta tune in live.
You are now watching Fantasy Voyage presented by Blitzlytics.com. And here are your hosts, Cody Manning and Rob.